Alita, if you see the closed caption, if there's a closed caption option, it'd be great if you could turn it on just in case we have any students with uh, any sort of disability, it could automatically produce that as well. If it gives you the option.
Okay, the thing with the closed caption though is you have to type. You have to assign one to type the script, or you have to use a third-party service to do that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it doesn't automatically do it for you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
so,
then.
okay. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Anyway, welcome to the Resume Writing for Engineering students. So thanks for being here today. Okay, so what's the purpose of a resume? To apply for an internship, a job, a scholarship, a graduate program, those types of things. We're going to mostly talk about today jobs and internships, but it's to make a good first impression. And the ultimate real purpose of a resume is to get you the interview. So that's the whole purpose of that tool, is to get you into that interview, to see the employer, to hopefully get hired. So the resume can lead to the interview, and then the interview, hopefully the job, all right? So let's see how you can improve those resumes to get that interview. All right, so what should you include in your resume? And there's common things that students understand that they should include. I think it's sort of a given. You write resumes in high school, but as an engineering resume, there's some differences. And these are the things I'm going to talk about today, because you are unique and in certain ways, and employers value certain things on your resume, which I'm going to share with you again. But these are some of the common areas, and I'm going to go over each one. So I'm not necessarily going to read them all right now, but they're right there on your screen, and we're going to take you through each section. Okay. All right. Okay, so the first one, the contact information, that sounds like a no-brainer. However, it's important that you make sure to include what's important. So today, with the internet and everything, if you're not comfortable putting your address on there, if it's a local company and you're comfortable, great. But if maybe it's a company in Southern or Northern California or nationwide, you don't necessarily have to put your whole address on there, just the city and state abbreviated. That's what you need. Do not worry about the zip code. You might want to leave that off. You don't need the zip code at all, but the city and state. And then of course your, how to get a hold of you, right? What's your phone number with your area code? What's your email address? And a bonus is your LinkedIn profile, okay? Your URL for your LinkedIn account. And I feel that all engineering students should create a LinkedIn account. I think it's very important that you have a tool to use where you can upload your projects, you can put video clips, you can do all kinds of wonderful things on LinkedIn that you can't do on a resume. And I know employers value this. And I know Brad Hyatt said, he says that employers look people up on LinkedIn, and if they don't have an account, they won't even interview them. So there's one of your professors if you're construction management. But if you're not, other employers find this valuable as well. So I highly suggest a LinkedIn account, and that is what you should also list on your resume as well. So the first one is just simply the going across. It has the city, the phone, the email, and then the LinkedIn. The middle one, if you're a freshman and you want to take up some space, hey, that takes up a lot more space than the first example, right? So it has the full address, the phone, the email, as well as the LinkedIn kind of stacked instead of across. And then the bottom one is kind of 2 lines, and it's just listing it a little bit differently, instead of 1 line. So those are just a few examples, but some things to think about, okay? They need to get a hold of you, so that's really important. You don't need to say email. You don't need to say cell. Those are words that are not necessary. I see them all the time. They know that's your email. They know that's your phone. So you don't have to you wouldn't put name, right? You wouldn't put address. So you don't need to add those things. So just a recommendation. Okay. All right. Next, is kind of at the top is kind of, what are you using this tool for? What are you using this resume for? What are you seeking? You want to tell them, what are you looking for? Is it going to be an objective, or you're going to give them a short statement of kind of the type of position you're looking for, maybe the function area or the industry or the skills? Is it going to be a short statement like an objective? Or is it going to be a summary where instead you kind of tell a little bit more about your background? You might list a couple not sentences, but phrases. There's no sentences on resumes. Nothing starts with I did this or I did that, but they're more like phrases, more little phrases. So, but a summary can be like 2 to 3 phrases, and it could include different things. Same thing as a profile. A profile is a little bit longer than an objective. So I'll mention that our career success guide, which I'll mention a couple times in this presentation, we have a book that's a PDF on our homepage you can get to. And in there's a lot of samples on resumes and cover letters, etc. But there's some resume samples in there that have profiles and summaries so that you can look at these examples. But a lot of people just use objective as an example. So let me give you a couple ideas on what you can put if you use an objective. Simply to obtain a mechanical engineering internship for summer of 2021, for instance, or seeking a full-time career position in the transportation and pipeline field, or an internship where I could apply my technical skills in the areas of construction. So you can see there's a combination here. The fourth one down is to apply my leadership, analytical and communication skills in project management. And then the last one is to obtain a career level position in computer engineering. So there are a combination of majors, fields, industries, types, skills, those types of things. So there's different ways, and I'm going to show you, of course, a few sample resumes that incorporate these. All right, so objective is just a short little statement there. However, I do want to remind you, and I've seen this a lot lately, I've been doing a lot of resume reviewing, and when you send this to an employer, you have to think of their perspective. So it's not what you are going to get out of it, but what are they going to get out of it? So when you say to obtain an internship in the field of civil engineering or whatever, to gain work experience in my field, okay, that's of course why most people want internships, right? They want to get experience, they want to apply what they learned in school, et cetera, et cetera. But from an employer's perspective, it's not what you're going to get out of it, but what you're going to bring with you. So instead of, don't put that at all, that to gain experience, just leave that off on objective. Instead, you can say to obtain a mechanical engineering internship, to apply my technical and educational and work experience or something like that, or you can give specific skills, my problem solving and critical thinking and team management skills. So you can give them skills you bring with you, but don't mention that you're applying to gain experience, because that's not, I mean, you can, but you're really wanting to get them to interview you, right? To select you. So really use this space to say what you want to, what you bring with you. That's what I wanted to mention. Okay, next. All right, so skills and qualifications. This is a section you might want to add to your resume. I know sometimes engineering students, you guys have a lot to put on a resume, not necessarily as a freshman, but as you gain experience, and the more experience you gain, that resume is going to get pretty full. And most employers want one-page resumes. They still really want one-page resumes. Even if you upload today and they just keep scrolling, really they prefer one-page resumes. And when we get back to going to conferences and having job fairs that are in person, when you print something off and bring it with you, they're not going to turn the page over or look for a second page. So one page is really required, is what you should aim for. And so sometimes this skills section, some engineering students might put their technical skills here. Others might put some soft skills, but it's a combination. It can be a combination. So it's something you might want to think about. So here's an example. It's just an entry-level electrical engineer position. And if I had room for the whole job description, I'd show it, but this is a little bit of the gist of it. So if you're creating a summary section that goes at the top, because remember, the employer starts at the top and works their way down. This is very important. So maybe you want to let them know what kind of experience you have. Maybe you've done an internship or work experience, or you've had classes. So that adds up to whatever time. And so this person said they have 2 years of experience. And then a background in evaluating systems, that was part of the job description, and the student had a background. And the last two are more soft skills, more of their working independently as well as a team and having good communication skills. So those are soft skills combined with some of their other skills. If there's languages that you have, if your major has tools or devices or languages or other software, you can include that there, or you can create a separate technical skills section. But this is a great way to grab the attention of an employer. And what this means is, do you see this job that I've posted, sort of what? So every time you apply to a new job, you should make sure your skills reflect that job and that qualification of what the employer is looking for. And it doesn't mean you have to start from scratch each time. It really means that you want to tailor that resume to what that employer is seeking. Because if you just send the same one over and over and over, and you don't change it to make sure you have the right courses or the right skills, then you might not get that interview. So you're, in a sense, might be wasting your time instead of thinking you're being effective with your time. So it doesn't take long. You don't have to start from scratch. Mostly you just need to change this section at the top. So, okay. So I just want to make that point. All right. So skills section qualifications can be very beneficial to add. Next is your education. So they value, what are you studying? Obviously, what degree are you working on? So you're going to start off with California State University, Fresno. That's the name of the school that you attend. I know it's Fresno State's our nickname, but you want to put the official academic name. You could abbreviate it afterwards and put Fresno State. So if you're involved in clubs and organizations, or you work on campus, or doing research with a professor, whatever, that's great. You can abbreviate it afterwards, but you want to spell it out on your resume. And then you're gonna let them know that your degree, so you're working on your Bachelor of Science or your BS and your major. And you're gonna want to tell them your graduation date. So I see a lot of students put when they started. So maybe they started Fresno State August of 2019 to present. So they put August 2019 to present. And then we don't know when they're going to finish, because some students take 5 years, some take, longer. So instead of, don't put when you start the school, put when you're expected to graduate. So if you're a freshman right now, you're not going to be able to graduate for most likely 4 years. So you can put expected May of 2024. If you're a transfer student, probably May of 2022. Now you can always change that. If you need an extra semester or whatever, you can change it, but it's going to take a minimum of 4 years, if not more, to graduate. So let them know when you're going to finish, not when you start. Okay. And then if you've been going to Fresno State already and you have a GPA, your cumulative GPA, if it's 3.0 or higher, it's a good GPA to put on your resume. If it's not, don't worry about it. You always just want to strive to do your best, but your curriculum's tough, as you all know. So don't worry. You want to start making it up by project work and internships and clubs and organizations. So you're going to sell yourself on all of your skills, not just your academics. So aim for that 3.0. And if you have honors, if you're on the dean's list or president's list, that's something you could enter here, or you could do it in another section depending. So let's say you got on the dean's list one semester, you don't need to make a whole separate section, honors and awards, and just put dean's list. You can stick it right here in the education section. It fits nicely. So the BS is first, your California State University of Fresno, BS first. And then if you went to community college, so some of you went to community college and earned an AA or an AS degree, you could include that on there. Or some of you could be freshmen and you have your high school not that long ago, right? You graduated in June. So you could put your high school on there if you would like. However, only put your high school on there if you're going to have other activities to list on your resume. So if you're involved in leadership or clubs or organizations or sports or drama or a million other gazillion things that you can do in high school, only if you have activities and honors or things to put on your resume would you put your high school. If you graduated high school and you had a lot of other responsibilities, you couldn't get involved, then don't worry about putting your high school on there. You don't need to. Only put it on there if you have activities you're going to put on your resume. Okay, so that's kind of the section. And let me show you a few examples. So the top student went to a community college as well, and they earned their AS degree. And they also are graduating from Fresno State next May. And they put their honors on there, their president's list and their dean's list. And they also then put their graduated with honors for their community college. So they've incorporated them right here, and they didn't put a separate section. You get to decide how you want to do it. But you can see the California State University of Fresno, the bachelor's degree when it expected, the GPA, and then their honors. On the top one. The bottom one is a student that's going to Fresno State in geomatics, and they also went to Fresno High School, and they're listing their high school on there when they got it and what their GPA was in that case, because it was a good GPA. And then down below on their resume, they're going to have other activities and honors and things, or they wouldn't put their high school on there, right? So these are just few examples. If you did not have high school activities, you would just have your Cal State Fresno and your degree and when you're going to get that, okay? So that's kind of an example of what that looks like on your resume. All right. Okay, next, coursework and projects. So this is really critical. So this is kind of unique, not really unique, but can be unique to engineering students. It's really important, especially if you're an undergrad and you're a freshman, sophomore, junior. As you get ready to graduate and you're going to finish up school, you know, if you don't have a lot to put on there, great, put your coursework on there. But this shows employers, what have you taken so far? What courses have you taken? So some of these courses can be important because they have a job that they want you to do. And if they see that you've taken these classes, they know that you know the concepts and such. So this happens to be a mechanical engineering example. And you can put it relevant coursework. Use the catalog titles, not the numbers. They don't know what ME101 is or whatever. They don't know what those numbers are. So put the titles like this does. So that could be important, I think, adding coursework to your resume. And that goes usually either in the education section or right underneath it. And then next would be projects. And I don't care if you have 2 years of internship experience. Great, wonderful, wonderful, yay, good for you, you know. And I know a lot of you are going to strive to get an internship. However, projects are still very important. And I could squeeze so much in one page, you would not believe it. So add a project or two on your resume, because what you're doing is you're showing that employer that I've learned this in my class and I actually applied it in this matter. And so this happens to be a robotic arm project where they designed an arm to rotate to select candy and dispense it type of thing. So they're letting the employer know that they used Arduino to program a microcontroller, and that they modeled the arm in SolidWorks, and then they used a welding technique to actually fabricate the arm using the lathe and milling machine. So they're telling them a bunch of stuff right here with this one project, the software, the tools, the mechanisms that they're able to use. So this is an example. I highly suggest you put bullet points. I've seen other samples where they just put project name and nothing underneath it. So it's really helpful if you have a couple bullets to describe on what was the project, what did you use, what was the outcome. So here's an example. I made another slide. I just added this today because I think this is such an important section that you add a few projects. So these are a couple examples. And depending on your major, some of you do projects in your labs. I mean, you will do projects. I promise you, you will do projects. So keep track of these projects. Don't forget about them. If they're visual projects, like this bridge or something that breaks, like the concrete beam that a lot of the students in CE 85 do, their intro to civil engineering, take a video of that beam breaking, you know, because you use that equipment to break that if you can, I mean, in the future. So anything that's visual, take pictures. You can upload those to LinkedIn, where you can share with employers, or you can create your own website and your portfolio using WordPress or things like that. So you can create a portfolio with these things. But in the meantime, you're describing these, what you've done. So hopefully this will help you. Hernan, I don't know the best way to get this to these students. So maybe if anyone's interested in this PowerPoint, should they email me or should I send it to you? What's the best way, Hernan?
You can email it to me, Alita, and then I will email it out. We actually, we can also post it on the, make it available on the Lyles College of Engineering Student Services webpage. So we're posting a lot of things on there as well.
Okay.
This video, so it'll be on the Lyles College of Engineering webpage.
Okay, so yeah, so I mean, the video is great for those who haven't seen it, but some of you might not want to watch it again. Maybe you just want to look at the PowerPoint. So I will share this with Hernan and he'll let you know how to get to it, okay? But I think these are just a few good examples of some ways to list projects, okay? So very important that you all keep track of these and start adding them to your resume, all right? Okay, so next is experience. Again, what do you have to offer an employer? What have you done? Okay, now it is not always paid experience. It could be paid or unpaid, but it's really showing the employer the skills that you develop. Okay, so what you want to do is, instead of just putting experience and put everything down under one section, you want to create various sections, kind of break it up so it's easy to read, because employers only spend anywhere from maybe 6 seconds to 50 seconds reading a resume. It's not very long. They really skim it. So you want to make sure that these things are easy to find. So if you've already done something related to your field, you can call that related experience or internship experience, and that should be right under your projects. That should be high up under your projects, and you put anything related that you've done in your field. But if you haven't, then work experience. I've seen this so many times recently as well. Students think that, oh, I only should put my engineering stuff on my resume. I might have worked at McDonald's 2 years, and I started off and I was an employee of the month, and I train other people and whatever. I mean, you have a lot of skills that you develop at work, and you might think, oh, it's only McDonald's. Well, guess what? You're showing a lot of skills and leadership that are important to an employer. So do not leave off your work experience. I think it's very critical. So please add work experience to your resume. You can make your margins 0.5, 0.4. I don't care, as long as the words are not really small. They can read it and you could fit it. So please add your work experience. At the minimum, the title, the employer, the city, state, and the dates, if you don't have room for bullets. But I think some of you, should add a few bullets, especially if you have responsibilities that show those soft skills employers are looking for: customer service, teamwork, communication. You problem solve too every day. All of us do. And those are critical skills to engineering. So please add work experience. Internship, volunteer, clubs and organizations, leadership, all kinds of stuff. Okay. So this is very important that you separate these sections on your resume. So let's give you a couple of examples. But before I go into that, I want to talk about formatting. Okay. So again, remember resumes are skimmed. Okay, or scanned. They're not really read extensively. So it's not a novel, it's a quick read. It's a short story. So you want to start off with the most recent going backwards, just like you did with your education. You started off with California State University of Fresno, and then your community college or high school. All right, so same thing with your experience. You want to start off with the most recent job or internship or club or whatever. You want to start off the most recent going backwards. So that's the reverse chronological it talks about here. Also, you want to be consistent in your formatting. Details are very critical no matter what our fields are, right? If you miss typing something and you mess up everything, right? So be very careful here formatting. So if you spell out the month and the year in your education, if you spell May of 2024 out, spell your dates out in your experience section. If you abbreviate them 05/2024, then abbreviate them in your experience. So that's all I mean by being kind of consistent with formatting, okay? Use present tense for current jobs or experiences and past tense for things that you're no longer doing. So if you're currently, in a club and you're serving as president and you lead the club, you arrange the agendas and you work with the vice president, that would be current. Work, arrange, create. But if it was past tense, you did that last year, it would have been created, worked, and then planned. So past tense for past jobs or experiences, present tense for present jobs. So keep an eye on that. Bullets are so much easier to read than paragraph style. You can do paragraph style, but bullets underneath are much easier to read when you're listing that in a resume, and easier for an employer to read. However, if you don't have a lot of space, go ahead and go across. And what I mean is you can put this, comma, that, comma, and that, and go across versus creating bullets. And it does take a little less space, but bullets are much easier to read. So you got to decide, how to do that. But bullets, we usually suggest. And then quantify whenever possible. So give an amount. I was just looking at a couple of resumes yesterday, and a student said they trained co-workers to learn how to use the point of sale system at their job. But they didn't say how many. So maybe they've been there 2 years. I'm sure they've trained 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or even more, So you could put a number in there, train 10 coworkers to use this, right? And if you put a number in there, that tells the employer about the experience that you have. So that's an example. Or maybe you were a membership chair for one of your clubs and you increased membership 25% by a new social media campaign you created or something. So you want to quantify whenever possible, all right? So that's something to think about. So I'll share with you in a little bit about that. But here are just some examples. So the top one is an internship with a bake company in Fresno, and then there's the dates. The middle one is working at the computer lab as a student assistant, and then the bottom one is a co-chair of one of the engineering organizations and their role. Okay, and these all would have bullets or statements underneath. But I just wanted you to see that's all you need. You do not need the address, the supervisor's name, the website, the phone number, or anything. All you need is the name of the organization, the title, the city, state, and then the dates. And that's the month and the year to the month and the year, so that they know. Because I've seen a number of students that just put like 2018 to 2019. And we don't know how long that is, right? Nobody knows how long that is. So if you have to put the month to know. So please put the month and the year to the month and the year in your dates, okay? Or to present or current if it's something you're still doing. But month and the year for you guys, all right? So that's a few examples. And then how do you create these bullet statements, right? How do you compose these things? Well, you know, if you save your own job descriptions, it makes it easier. So save those, you know, down those and save them in a file so that you can have access to that later. But if you can't, if you didn't do that, you had a job and you didn't do that, you have to recreate it. So what you might want to do is kind of type up what you did, and then you make bullets out of that using these power action verbs, okay? And so let's take an example here. So let's say this is something you did, you typed up that you did this, that you had weekly and monthly reports you gave your boss, you worked with databases and spreadsheets, and that you answered phones and made sure vendors knew what was happening. So these are 3 separate concepts that this student had to do. And now they're taking this into and making bullets out of it to make it easy to read and also to add some good data. So instead, this is created, prepared weekly and monthly reports, same thing it said in the sentence, but they were submitted to the vice president. And the second bullet and third bullet talk about the numbers. So that this person maintained 379 vendor accounts and they kept track of 4,500 customer accounts. That's a quantifiable number, so you can get a bigger picture of the responsibility. And then the bottom one is communicated with vendors and customers to solve problems quickly and efficiently. So that's an accomplishment statement, which I'm going to share next. Accomplishment statements are very important, and you should try to use these as you can on your resume. And what you're doing is you're using a power verb plus the action that you took plus the outcomes and the results. So this one is communicated, that's the verb. And then what? With vendors and customers, that's the subject. And then the outcome is to solve problems quickly and efficiently. So now you're a problem solver, right? So that's an accomplishment statement. And those are very powerful. And let me show you one more slide here. To write an accomplishment statement is, again, the power verb plus how you completed the action plus that results and outcomes. And in our career success guide on page 21 is a kind of a worksheet for resumes, and that format is in there for you to use. But here's a couple examples from a student, a mechanical engineering student that was in a Bulldog Racing Club. So the 2 bullets you see here: developed a process to transfer the vehicle weight during cornering to minimize body roll by 75%. So you can see there's that format right there, power verb plus how you completed plus the results. So that's one statement. And then investigated the viability of multiple exterior designs, resulting in the improvement of wind drag. So you can see those are powerful statements, so you can get a really good picture of what that student did and accomplished and what they contributed to their organization. In this case, it was Bulldog Racing. So there's a hyperlink there to our career success guide. I have another one later, but the career success guide's on our homepage. And it's a great tool to use. It's the one that has cover letter samples and resume samples and all kinds of great stuff. So I hope you take advantage of accessing that. But that's a good example. So start thinking about accomplishment statements when you write your resume, all right? Okay, so next is, there's other sections you can add. You can add volunteerism or community service. That's something all employers value. So there's a few examples here that are kind of related in a sense to engineering. And then those of you that are freshmen, hey, whatever you did in high school, you can add some of this stuff. I prefer more commitments. So member of Key Club, when you're a member of Key Club, you're there for a year probably, and you're doing a lot of projects in the community, not just a one day where you hand out bottles of water, you know. That's okay if that's all you have, but these are more commitments, kind of like work experience, but more volunteer commitment. So really more commitments is what we're looking for. But again, these one-dayers, if you don't have any, you could start with that on your resume with the goal of getting involved in building this tool as you go through college, okay? But volunteer community service is very important as well. Next would be honors and awards. So if you just have one's dean's list, like I said, that could go up higher under your education. But if not, you've got, maybe you earned scholarships, or you're in an honor society, or you're were worker of the month or student of the month, or you were an Eagle Scout, or those of you just coming into Fresno State from high school, you might have had honor roll or high honor roll in high school. You can add these things on there as well. If you look in the career success guide at the pre-vet resume, There's a good way, that one has really good way to list it. This student is a freshman finishing up their first year, and they included their high school and their college with their activities and awards. And then the goal is, as you get further on into Fresno State, you're going to drop off the high school stuff and you'll still have those sections built. So take a peek at the pre-vet resume in the Career Success Guide for an example, especially those of you that are freshmen. But these are honors and awards, and there's a variety of those kinds of things you can add, as you can see, all right? And then next would be leadership and activities. So we want you to get involved. We want you to develop these skills working with one another. It's invaluable. I think a lot of times students remember who they were with in college, and not always those specific classes, but it's those group assignments and projects and clubs and all those activities that you do, where you're going to remember and grow from. So these are leadership roles, ambassadors, vice president, members, coaches, officers. You can, again, in high school, there's lots of things that you did perhaps and learn leadership and were involved. So you can include your high school, but you're aiming to then add into college. And Hernan oversees the clubs, and there's tons of them in engineering, and I encourage you to join one. I'm sure you get a lot of emails from Hernan, so he won't let you miss out on those. So please, if you can do anything, carve out some time. I know with, now in this day and age, a lot of this is online, but I just saw an email from Society of Women Engineers. They're having a meeting and it's all on Zoom, but you could still connect with each other, and you could still, a lot of these organizations are now doing virtual conferences. So we still have ways to connect and get involved. So lots of good opportunities still exist in today from home, okay? So these are things that you're gonna aim to do and start getting involved in. So what are employers looking for? Okay, so obviously it's helpful if you can take what you apply and use it. So project work, experience, or internship are very helpful. They value that very much. They want to know what degree you're studying and when you're graduating, right? They want to know what skills you have and qualifications, and you need to type that so they can see what that is. They're not going to, you don't want them to infer from what you write. You want to tell them what that is. Those accomplishments, that's why those accomplishment statements can be very, very beneficial there. A clear objective. What are you seeking? What do you want? What are you looking for? Extracurricular involvement, that's a bonus. That is a bonus, and that's something you're going to really love and thrive doing, okay? And GPA. Sometimes GPA, if you have a 3.0 or above, great, you know, strive for that. If you don't, that's okay. You're going to have all these other things to talk about as well, but you want to strive to always do your best. So those are some of the things employers are seeking, and some of that we talked about today to put on your resume. I'm going to show you 3 samples here of 3 different resumes. This one is I believe a civil, if I remember. Yeah, this is a civil engineering student. And so they have their objective, they have their summary of qualifications, they have their education, they added their coursework, they have related experience. So they did an internship there, and they added what that was on there. They also did projects. So they're putting their projects in there, and they've given several bullet points to describe their projects and what software they used and what tools they used, etc. And then the bottom has their student involvement, and it has their membership in one of the student clubs here at Fresno State. So this is just one example of how one student did that, okay? So, and this, you know, as a freshman, you're not gonna be able to do all this yet, you know? That's why it's important you share other things, work experience or volunteer or other kinds of things. But as you gain more and more classes, you're gonna have more projects, you're gonna have more time to hopefully get an internship and add to this. But these are what we're all striving to do, okay? So this is a student that's civil. This is a construction student. And see, here's a summary. This one has a professional summary instead. So this one has three or four short little statements of kind of a background of their experiences and such that they want to share with the employer. So they didn't do a skills section. They just put it into this format. They put when they're graduating a course, they put their coursework, a couple of their projects, they have their related experience, they have leadership and memberships, and then they put honors and awards. So there's no right or wrong way per se, but I highly suggest you start from scratch. I would say use a Word document or Google Doc. Please stay away from those templates if you can help it. They look kind of cool in some ways. If you go to Canva, some of you like Canva or whatever, or use Microsoft Word templates, they just don't allow you much flexibility. And when you start adding to this and trying to share this with an employer, you can't really put bullets under projects on those columns and things. They just don't fit. So I would highly suggest just using Word or using Google Doc and starting from scratch. You know, this one, I mean, you could do some things, you can make colors, you can put underlines, you can do different things to make it stand out. But you know, it's something I would highly suggest. It just makes it easier when you add to it, and you're constantly going to be adding to your resume. So anyway, the construction example, and then the last one's an engineering example, and this is in our career success guide. But so you can see at the top, there's no address, there's just a phone number, and there's the email, and then there's the LinkedIn account, what they're seeking, their education, coursework. They've described their projects in a lot of detail, and they did some of these in their clubs and organizations. They have internship experience. They put their leadership experience, and then this one you can see at the bottom is technical skills. And so for you ME students, this is something you're going to want to maybe strive for too, because in mechanical, you use a lot of tools and devices as well as software and things. So you might want to include something like this somewhere in your resume, whether at the top or the bottom, you decide. But this is something, again, you're striving for. So freshmen, don't get freaked out. You're going to be adding your skills and you're going to be developing these, okay? But you're going to be, it's an ongoing tool to use, all right? So that's the resume and several examples. Cover letters, I know that that's very important too. When you apply for an internship or job or such, it's a good idea to submit a cover letter with it. Some employers require it and others they don't say. So you can decide whether you want to submit a cover letter or not, but it's really a great idea because it gives them a chance to kind of get an idea of your writing style and learn more about you. So let me take you through a little bit of cover letters before we finish up, okay? So basically the purpose is to introduce yourself and show how your education experience match the job. So we suggest you always submit a cover letter. You get to decide, but it's a great idea to do so. Even when you're uploading these things onto the internet, if you're using Indeed or our Hire Fresno State or whatever, you know, our account, Hire Fresno State, allows you to submit its cover letter and resume separately, but in Indeed or Simply Hired or Glassdoor or LinkedIn, etc., what you can do is you can make page 1 as your cover letter and page 2 as your resume. And when you upload that, it goes together. So they would see the cover letter and the resume. So you can include the cover letter if they don't ask for it. When you go to a career fair or to a conference, you don't need a cover letter. You're there representing yourself normally, so you just need the resume. But online, it's a good thing to send it together, or if it allows you to send it separately. Okay. This demonstrates your writing ability and your communication skills. So that's important. And then. So you want to make sure that you prepare, just like your resume is targeted to that specific job, your cover letter should go along with that and target it to that job too. So you're not going to, again, have one cover letter and one resume. You're going to edit it a little bit to sell your skills, all right? So, so you're going to start off with the first paragraph on, you know, what are you applying for? What are you seeking? What position? How you heard about it? Or those types of things. And then why you're interested. That's kind of the main part of the opening paragraph. Definitely start, you know, it's usually just a few sentences, 2 or 3 or 4 sentences or whatever. So that's the opening kind of paragraph. The middle is kind of more of your qualifications, your background, your skills, your experience, kind of something that the employer will find interesting, what you learned, what you bring with you, those kinds of things, in writing form, of course, versus your resume, which is abbreviated. But this is just a few important qualifications they're seeking you can elaborate on. And then the last paragraph, real short, just, you know, letting them know that you submitted their resume for their review and you're, you know, excited to talk to them and would like to, you know, meet with them in an interview and kind of thanking them type of thing in advance. So the, you know, the beginning and end paragraph are pretty standard. In the middle is where you get to describe a little bit more about yourself and sell yourself kind of thing. So this is kind of a format, what I just said, but broken down. Your name, your address, your phone, you know, your email, sorry, your name, your address, or your city or whatever. whatever, the date, their contact person, organization, street, etc. If you can't get that, if you're going online to Indeed, you're not going to get the contact person, you know. You will if you go to Hire Fresno State, because when people post jobs, a lot of them put that in there, but you might not see that in Indeed or in you know, LinkedIn's. But if you do have it, put it on there. If you don't, just leave that out and just put Dear Hiring Representative. If you don't have a name, you just do hiring representative or something like that. Don't do to whom it may concern or dear sir or madam. Those are kind of like not very good ways to start a letter, but just dear hiring representative or hiring manager or something like that. And then again, these are the opening, the middle, and the closing. And then basically just typing your name at the bottom is all you need to do. Okay, that's just the format. And then here's an example. This is a student that's looking for an internship. And so you can see at the top of her cover letter, she has her name and all that. What she did is that's exactly what it looks like on her resume. So she's actually copied and pasted that into a cover letter, and so that it kind of matches her from her resume. So that's something you might want to do, kind of like your own little letterhead in a sense. And then the date, and then the person, and then again the introduction. So this one's saying that they would like to be considered for this position that was posted on Hire Fresno State, and they're talking about the company, why they were interested in the company, and they're mentioning about the company, and then they're talking about themselves, and that the experience they have and their skills, and how they would like to be a member of the team. And then the middle talks about their interests and their experience. And then the last part, again, asking for the interview. And as you can see in the slide, this is an actual job at the bottom. And there's things highlighted there: Word, Excel, Outlook, the accounting major, prioritize, organize. So this person actually has taken the words from that job description and incorporated that into the cover letter. So that's why I wanted you to see that. So look at the job, look at what they're looking for, and making sure you have that on your resume and or cover letter so that you can get that interview. Remember, that's the purpose of this, is to get the interview. So that's an example of a cover letter on how you can kind of tailor it to the specific job. All right. Okay, so as I mentioned, our career success guide, there is a cover letter section as well. This is the hyperlink, so if you get the PowerPoint, you can click on it, or you can just go to our homepage, and there's a flipbook kind of version of it, and then there's the PDF version. I would download the PDF version because then you could turn it, because our pages some of them are sideways, but it's on our homepage, so you can get to that as well, okay, and follow up and look at the resume samples and the cover letters and the worksheets and all those good things, all right? So that's available on our homepage, or you can click on the hyperlink and it'll take you right there when you get this PowerPoint. All right. All right. So final tips, make sure to proofread that resume. All right. It is very, very important that you have no errors. Okay. No errors on the resume. You want to write about your accomplishments, not just your job description. Make it easy to read. And if you do go to an event where you have to print it, you know, just kind of print it on, just make it nice so this doesn't smear or anything. So there is an error on this page. Usually when I do a class presentation, I have students find it. Anybody see the error? You can speak up if you can see the error on this page. There is a typo here. Anybody see it?
It says keep clam.
Exactly. There you go. Very good. So we've seen this a million times, and it meant to say keep calm, right? But it says keep clam, and that is a word, and spell check wouldn't have caught that. So make sure that you have someone else look at it, maybe a classmate or a family member or whatever, have them review it too. People could see things that you don't see because you've been looking at that thing forever. So very important that you take that into account, all right? So because you don't want to have any boo-boos, any errors. And a funny one I had was a student meant to say assesses this or that or whatever, and they didn't spell it right, and they left off a letter, and it made it a naughty word. So you have to be really careful. Another one I think was in charge of rooting a team of 6, and they meant to say running a team of 6. So sometimes that it does that autocorrect, and it makes it worse, right? So again, kind of keep an eye on that, and let someone else keep an eye on that for you as well. Okay. All right. So any questions from anyone? I know Hernan might have been answering the chat. Our office hours are 8 to 5 Monday through Friday. We do have a virtual career cafe Monday through Friday, 10 to 2. There's our phone, and there's our our website and our email address. So if you have any needs or anything, I send you emails. We have a workshop coming up next week. I should be sending an email out soon on that. So you probably get emails from me. So you can always reply back. Look me up. Alita W is my email address. But so let me go ahead and go back to the screen here. So
there was a student, Alita, that was interested in sharing his or her resume, just so that maybe you could give them some
feedback.
Tips.
Yeah, I mean, you could, yeah, if you would like, you could, oh, right now? Okay. Sure, can you, okay, so I can't see the top of it, but I'm assuming it's just your contact. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so it says email preferred. So I don't know if I would do that. I would probably take that off, Jared, at the top line where you have email preferred there. I would probably take that off. I don't think that's necessary. I think most employers probably email students anyway. They don't probably call, but you know, I don't think that's something you could probably put something like that in your cover letter maybe, since I'm in and out or in class, you know, maybe emailing me would be good. So that would be something later, not on a resume. Okay, so you got your skills, okay? You got a lot of your technical and you got customer service, okay? Employment, all right. So here you have some pretty good stuff here. You know, you have an engineer. I'm assuming that's assistant engineer or an intern or something, because you're still going to school, right? Yeah. So you're still going to school, and it looks like you're graduating in December, but they can't tell that, so they could think you already graduated. Are you still in school, Jared? Because I would take off. See, here's an example of how he put when he started, and they don't really care when you started, Jared. So you would just put December 2020. I'm assuming you're graduating in December. So instead of employment, I would probably put relevant experience. Now, this looks like a template, but I'm not 100% sure. It makes it harder to fix, but I would put relevant experience, which is a powerful word compared to just employment. So, those are all pretty much where you're using your engineering skills, right? So that I would probably rename to probably relevant experience. Okay, yeah, perfect. And then education, so you've got Cal State Fresno, your degree, okay. And then again, just December, when you're graduating, December 2020, not when you started. Robotics, so, oh, that's from CART, so when you were in high school. So I would probably put that into more of a project. I know when you did robotics at CART, you did a project. So you don't have projects on here. I know you have 3 really good work experiences. I get it, you know, but I would probably take off the robotics part, and maybe if, you know, and that's a while back, you probably would just get rid of it. And then because you've done a lot of projects, I'm sure, in college in your degree. So, and then you're working as well. So I would just probably get rid of that, or maybe put it under projects. Yeah. And when you put projects on your resume, you don't have to date them, by the way. Thanks, Jared, for volunteering to be an example here. So, but again, these are, all this stuff is important. And, you know, if you can fit it in, you have a lot of white space there because it's a template. But if you change it, the way you can change it is to save as and do it plain text. And then you open up that text version and copy and paste it into Word, and then you could edit it. So that's how I get around those templates. Some of them, it doesn't let you do it. If there's columns and stuff, it's hard to do. You have to start from scratch, but you have your volunteer, and then you have experience. So asteroids, okay, that's your project. So your experience that you call experience, that looks like some projects that you did, right? So yeah, there you go. So projects, and I would move those up. I would move your education up. That should go up. You have your work first. So you have your skills, then you would do your education, then you would do your projects, and then you would do your related experience, and then your volunteer and your work experience, you know, that kind of stuff. So solid work. Okay, certificates. I don't know where that is. Is that like an online certificate? I don't know what that means. You have your certificates, but that was back in when? When did you do that?
That was from Fresno City College.
Okay. So yeah, so it looks like you went to City, but you didn't get a degree, right? You just transferred?
Correct.
Okay. So, you know, is that something, yeah.
So this is something that you can get certified in, and
okay,
then you can check.
Oh, it's a certificate you earned while you were at City. Got it. Perfect. Yeah.
Right.
So you can add that, but I would just say where you got it. Fresno City College. Yeah. and then you have your awards, and then, okay, yeah. So those are good stuff. And, you know, I mean, it's just moving things around a little bit, making it stand out, and not when you started, but when you ended, okay, for your education, or those things. Definitely work experience. So see his employment, he has just the year. So when you were an engineer with John Bean Technologies, you put 2017. Did you work one day? Did you work 12 months? Did you work a summer? When did you do that? And the
Oh,
same,
that was 6 months.
yeah. So I would put the month, like January to whatever, or, you know, whatever it is in 2017, put the months too. So you want to put your month and the year to the month and year. Okay.
Or, okay.
Okay. All right. Sounds good.
Question on a few of these things. So I tried to organize based on what I thought their interest would be. And then on some of the dates and stuff like that, I try to keep it short so it wouldn't grab attention. How do you suggest me managing them looking over my resume and their lag time of their eyes on a particular subject?
Well, okay, so you're still in school. So I would move your, again, this is just a standard way. We usually do skills first, right? Okay. And then your education. And then it could be coursework and projects. And then it would be your internships or relevant experience. And then it could be work experience, and then clubs, activities, and things like that, and awards and things. So they're going to see all that. They start from top to bottom, but usually your education should be up high, because that is your first goal, is to graduate and get your degree, and everything else is supplementing that. So once you graduate, you're going to then create, that employment is going to be first, and your education gets down to the bottom, when you're out in the field and working for a while. But right now you're a student still, and you're a working student for several years, which is very valuable. So, but it doesn't mean that it should be first, though, because your goal is to get that 4-year degree. Well, it's not really 4 years, right? It's more than that. So, but to get that college degree, to get your degree. So that should be up high. So that's just my feeling. Jared, it's your resume. You do it however you want. See what works, right? The purpose is to get the interview. So if you've been getting interviews, you've been getting jobs, do what you want. How's that? But as long as it's on there and it's easy to see, but the end dates are really important for education, so they know when you're going to graduate. Right now, it's not sure. They might think you're working full time and you already graduated. So, because it says 2016 to 20. So instead you want December of 2020 that you're getting your degree in down at Fresno State. Yeah. So that's my take on that. Okay. All right.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that feedback.
Thanks, Jared. Okay. So I think we're going to thank you everyone for attending.